All right, today we're doing a deep dive, a real forensic investigation into a single chapter of the Qur'an, Surah Maryam. And inside, there's a fascinating puzzle. God gives two prophets, Maryam and Ibrahim, commands that are total opposites. One is told to stay silent, the other is told to debate. So why? By really digging into the text, we're going to uncover how these two completely different paths actually lead to the exact same profound truth. So, here's how we're going to break this all down. We'll start with this tale of two miracles, the whole silence versus debate thing. Then we'll unpack the incredibly compassionate logic behind Ibrahim's approach, which you'll see leads us straight to something called the principle of dissociation. After that, we basically turn into detectives and conduct a forensic investigation into one single name, Azar. And finally, we'll tie it all together to see the one unified message hiding behind these two very different stories. Okay, so this is where it all starts. This is the central contrast that kicks off our entire analysis. On one side, you have Maryam, and she's commanded to be silent. The miracle she presents, her infant son, Jesus, speaking from the cradle, is so powerful, so undeniable, it needs zero defense. It's what you'd call a self-evident truth. But then, on the other side, you've got Ibrahim, and he's commanded to do the exact opposite, to engage in this long, detailed, and incredibly compassionate debate to guide his people away from idol worship. For him, the truth had to be built, carefully, one logical step at a time. The proof wasn't some big, flashy, singular event. No, it was an argument to be built and explained with real patience. So let's zoom in on Ibrahim's side of the story for a minute. The source we're looking at presents his approach as just a masterclass in compassionate dialogue. We're going to really dissect the specific language he uses to understand his method, because you'll see that every single word is chosen with incredible precision. The source text really hones in on this crucial repeated phrase, Ya Abati. It means, oh my dear father. Now, this isn't just a formal hello, father. No, the specific wording here conveys deep love, real endearment. Just think about that for a second. Even while he's confronting this fundamental disbelief, while he's challenging the very foundation of his family's faith, Ibrahim's first instinct is to wrap the entire conversation in affection and gentleness. And what the source points out is that this gentleness, it wasn't just Ibrahim being a nice guy. It was a conscious reflection of a divine attribute, Al-Rahman, the most merciful. His goal wasn't to win an argument or to condemn his family, not at all. It was to guide them with a kind of mercy that mirrored the divine. He was inviting, not attacking. Okay, but this is where we hit a snag, right? A real theological puzzle that the source dives right into. If Ibrahim is the absolute model of gentle dialogue, how in the world do we square that with the divine command for believers to disassociate from those who worship idols? It feels like a direct contradiction. Well, the answer, it turns out, is all in the details, specifically in the precise meaning of this term, tabari. It means principled dissociation, but the key word here, based on the source's analysis, is principled. This is not an immediate reaction. It's the absolute final resort, something you only do after every single attempt at compassionate, reasoned dialogue has been completely exhausted and flat-out rejected. The source actually breaks it down into this really clear three-step process. First up, the compassionate invitation, built on that gentleness and reason. Then, step 2, Ibrahim actually makes a promise. He even offers to pray for their forgiveness, keeping that door wide open. It is only after receiving final irreversible proof of their hostility towards God that the third step, dissociation, is even allowed. It's the very end of a long road, not the starting point. And now, we shift gears and put on our forensic hats. The source conducts this incredibly detailed investigation into a single name mentioned in the Qur'an, Azar. And believe me, the conclusion of this investigation has massive theological implications for this entire story. So here's the million-dollar question. The Qur'an states that Ibrahim addressed a man named Azad as his Ab. But does Ab exclusively mean biological father? The answer to this is absolutely critical for solving a major theological dilemma. All right, let's lay out the conflicting evidence, just like in a courtroom. On one hand, the Quranic text is explicit. It uses the word Ab for Azar, which seems to mean father. But on the other hand, you've got this core Islamic doctrine that says the direct lineage of the prophets has to be pure, completely free from idol worship. So now we've got a direct conflict, the literal word of the text versus a foundational belief. How can both possibly be true? And the breakthrough, the thing that cracks the case, comes from linguistics. The crucial insight is that the Arabic word ab is just so much broader than the English word father. Sure, it can mean biological father, but it can also mean uncle or guardian or even a respected male ancestor. And the source points to some powerful precedent for this right inside the Qur'an itself. The sons of Jacob refer to their grandfather Ibrahim and their great-uncle Ishmael using the exact same root word, Abba. This is the smoking gun, linguistically speaking. It proves the word has a much wider familial meaning. And look, this isn't someone trying to twist the meaning in modern times. Not at all. The source cites classical scholarly works, like the one you see here, to show that this analysis is a well-established position in Islamic scholarship. This little linguistic nuance is the key that unlocks the whole thing. Azar wasn't the biological father, but an uncle or a guardian. The contradiction just evaporates, and the doctrine of a pure prophetic lineage is preserved.
Okay, so let's zoom back out and bring it all together. Now that we have this new understanding of Ibrahim's story, we can finally return to our initial comparison with Maryam and see the single message that unites both of them.
So what's the big takeaway from all this? The source's ultimate conclusion is actually pretty profound. It's that silence and debate are not opposites. They are two different, divinely ordained tools. Each one is perfectly tailored to its situation, but both are designed to reveal the very same thing, truth. Let's look at our two prophets one last time. Maryam's miracle was a self-evident truth, a supernatural event so powerful it only needed silence to be understood. But Ibrahim's miracle, well, it was different. It was a reasoned truth, unveiled not by a single flashy act, but through the miraculous power of compassionate, logical, and persistent debate. Two different methods, two types of miracles, but both are pathways to the exact same reality. And you know, this leaves us with a final, really thought-provoking question. It kind of invites us to reflect on how we approach truth in our own lives. How do we know when the evidence is so clear, so powerful, that it should just stand in silence? And when is it our duty to use a compassionate voice to debate, to persuade, and to guide others towards it?